Night lay over the small town like a warm blanket. The two-lane road was empty. The feed store stood quiet with its big faded sign. A cricket clicked. A dog barked once and went back to sleep. Then a shadow crossed the stars. It was wide, slow, and wrong. The shadow dipped, scraped old tin, and crashed behind the feed store with a hard metal scream. Dust lifted. The night held its breath. Mara was driving home from the diner. Her hands smelled like onions and soap. Her eyes were tired but steady. She saw the dust cloud and the broken light. She did not speed up. She did not run. She pulled over, cut the engine, and listened. A low groan came from the dark yard. Something heavy shifted. A wing dragged across gravel. The sound hurt the heart in a way that had nothing to do with blood. Mara took her thermos and a small flashlight. She left her truck door open. She walked toward the wrecked corner of the lot, slow and sure, like a woman who had seen storms and had not broken. The beam found a shape. Not a car, not a plane, a dragon. He was big but thinner than he should be. His plates were scorched and stitched with rough wire. One wing showed a jagged hole. Smoke rose from a shoulder seam. His eyes were gold, but the gold looked tired. Mara stopped a few steps away. "Can you hear me?" she asked. Her voice was calm. The dragon lowered his head a little. "Yes," he said. His voice was deep and slow, like a drum in a far room. "I am Vardis. I am Mara," she said. "You are hurt." "Yes." She set the thermos on the ground and unscrewed the cap. "Water," she said. "It is not much. It is what I have." Vardis touched the cap with the side of his tongue. Steam curled. He drank. He shut his eyes once, slow, as if this small good thing confused him. A soft rustle came from the back of Mara's truck. A tarp lifted. A small face looked out. Sierra climbed down and stood by Mara's hip. She was thin, with silver eyes and a scarf too big for her neck. "You should be in bed," Mara said. "Not angry, just honest." "I could not sleep," Sierra said. She looked at the dragon. "His wing sings wrong." She turned her head, listening to air. "And hunters are near." Mara kept her face still. "How near?" "On the highway," Sierra said. "3 trucks. One van with a jammer. A drone above us. It looks down with a red eye. It thinks about corners and heat." Mara did not glance up. "Can you make the wood hum?" she asked, nodding toward the old barn behind the feed store. "A small hum hides a big breath." "Yes," Sierra said. Mara looked at the dragon. "Can you walk?" "I will try," Vardis said. They moved together. Mara took the front with the light. Sierra walked at the dragon's shoulder with her palm near his plates, not touching, only giving him a line to follow. Vardis dragged his bad wing and kept his head low to miss the bent door. Inside, the barn smelled like dust and oil. An old tractor slept in the corner. Boards showed thin cracks where day had once lived. Now there was only night. Sierra pressed both hands to the wall and hummed a small, low note. The boards answered. The barn took a breath and kept it. Vardis's rough breathing folded into the hum and did not carry as far. Mara opened her tool bag. She pulled out wire, a clamp, and a welding mask. "I can stitch your plate," she told Vardis. "Not pretty." "Strong enough," Vardis bowed his head. "You fix my wing," he said. "I will fix your skies," Sierra tilted her head again. Her silver eyes went far. "The hunters speak on open radio," she whispered. "They smile with their mouths. Their eyes do not." She paused. "They say the word bounty." Mara checked the door latch. She flicked off her flashlight. The barn went dark and kinder. "We keep the door shut," she said. "We keep the hum steady. We work fast." A thin red dot slid across the crack in the boards. Another dot found the old tractor tire. A third dot climbed over the latch and stopped like a curious ant. Sierra's hum did not change. Her lips went a little white. A loudspeaker cracked the quiet. A smooth man's voice rolled into the yard like smoke. "Good evening, neighbors," it said. "This is a health inspection. Please step out. Please deliver the alien and the lizard. There is a reward. We will be gentle if you are quick." Mara lowered the welding mask over her face. She did not look at Sierra. She did not look at Vardis. She spoke for both. "A home is a promise," she said low. Outside, engines idled. Boots moved on gravel. The drone's red eye brightened. The same voice spoke again, friendly gone. "Last warning," it said. "Open the door." Mara lit the torch. Blue flame filled the barn with a small, hot day. Sparks fell like stars. Vardis did not flinch. Sierra kept the hum. Then the floodlight hit. White fire poured through the board cracks and turned dust into snow. The barn glowed like a lantern. The knight leaned closer to listen. "Hold," Mara said, and set her clamp. The first stitch flared. Outside, the man on the loudspeaker smiled where no one could see and said a new word that changed the air. Rook. Morning came thin and red. The town blinked like a tired eye. The Blue Star Diner smelled like coffee and toast and old songs. Mara flipped the sign to open and kept her shoulders loose. Her eyes checked the sky, the water tower, the street. Syrah sat in the corner booth with a pencil and a napkin. She drew boxes and arrows. She listened to the room the way birds listen to wind. Jesse wiped the chrome and stacked menus too straight. He wanted the day to behave. Behind the feed store, the barn hummed soft. Vardis lay still with one eye half open. The stitches held. The hum held. He waited. The bell over the door rang. 2 men came in. Their boots were dusty. Their caps were new. Their smiles were clean in the wrong way. One had a small scar at his lip. The other wore a badge that said Rook Safety Services. It did not belong to any county. "Pie first," the scar-lip said. "Breakfast later." "Pie warms all kinds of mornings," Mara said. She set pecan and apple on the counter and poured coffee. "You boys passing through?" "Health check," the badge man said. "We heard a loud night." "Wind made a mess," Mara said. "Our sign sang the wrong song." The scar-lip ate one slow bite. His eyes did the work. "Where's the feed store key?" "City has it," Mara said. "You can ask Sheriff Hale." The bell rang again. Hale filled the doorway without trying. Old hat, older eyes. He poured his own coffee, paid with cash, looked at the 2 men with the kind of hello that keeps hands still. "You boys lost?" Hale asked. "Helping the county," Badge said. "We'll file papers." "Do it," Hale said, and drank. Syrah tapped the napkin with her pencil. Tap, tap, pause, tap. The jukebox clicked to life with a soft drum, like a heartbeat under a blanket. The fridge motor answered. The neon over the window hummed with it. Syrah did not look up. "One drone over Maine," she whispered. "One over this roof. It looks for corners and heat. I can make it like the wrong corner." "Do that," Mara said without moving her lips. Syrah tapped a new beat. The jukebox thumped. The neon buzz rose and fell. Above the roof, the drone changed its gaze and drifted toward the empty feed store 2 blocks west. It thought it saw warmth. It would be disappointed. Jesse leaned in too eager. "We have cherry pie," he blurted, then remembered there was no cherry on the menu and wanted to disappear. Mara saved the line fast. "Cherry went to the church freezer," she said. "God bless them." She slid the plate closer. "Sugar fixes dust," Scarlip smiled at nothing. Badge man watched Hale. Hale watched the window glass and the street in the glass. Sierra's head tilted. 3 trucks idle outside town, she breathed. A van with a jammer parks under the radio tower. It eats our rhythm if it moves close. Then we make more rhythm, Mara said. She uncapped a marker and wrote big on the specials board. Block party. Free pie. Bring your mower, Jesse read it and blinked. A mower party? Mowers sing loud and honest, Mara said. Noise is a blanket. The TV above the counter lit with local news. The anchor's mouth was careful. The crawl at the bottom said, reward doubled. The picture was a smear with teeth. The words were danger, contagion, property risk. The county seal sat like a rubber stamp on a lie. Scarlip nodded at the screen as if it were his idea. Badgeman smiled at Mara as if he expected her to repeat the lie for him. She did not. The bell rang. 2 farmers came in, hats in hands. Mara, is the block party real? One asked. It is, Mara said. Bring your mower. Bring your wind chimes. Bring that old window fan that squeals, Tom. Tom grinned. It squeals like a pig. I'll bring it. Hale stirred his coffee once. I like live music, he said to the room. Sierra tapped a faster line on the napkin. The jukebox found it. The neon agreed. The fridge motor shook its head and then nodded yes. The diner became a metronome. Outside, one lawnmower started. then another, then three. The drone over the roof blinked. Its rangefinder went fuzzy. It pulled up and panned away, hunting a new idea. It picked the feed store again. It loved to be wrong twice. Badge man put his fork down, pie untouched. "We can do a house-to-house if needed," he said lightly. "Papers take time. Friendly is faster." Hale set his cup on its saucer without noise. "We like papers," he said. Scarlip stood. "We'll check the old barn," he said. "City key," Mara repeated and looked at the clock. "Lunch rush in 10. You want eggs with that pie?" Scarlip smiled with only his lip. No, they left. The bell rang after them. The diner breathed out. "Good start," Hale said. "Not done," Sierra said. "The jammer van just moved." The diner lights flickered, then steadied. The jukebox clicked mid-beat and came back on time like a pro. Sierra drew a tiny square on her napkin. "It sits under the tower," she said. "If it rolls closer, it steals our hum." "Then we spread the hum where the van cannot stand," Mara said. "We make the whole block sing." They went to work like a kitchen during a rush. Mara gave free pie and quietly tuned table fans to face the vents. Jessie taped a pocket radio to the back alley door so its static would leak into the air. Sierra leaned under the counter, opened a small panel, and hummed into a bad wire until it decided to be good today. Hale stepped outside and spoke slow on the county channel. "Block party is now," he said. "Bring your noise. Bring your old machines. Keep hands off weapons. This is a sound day." Engines answered from porches and sheds. Mowers rolled into yards and sang in messy time until Sierra's beat pulled them into one slow wave. The water tower carried the pulse. The old radio antenna joined. The block became a large, soft lie. Sierra smiled once, quick and small. "We are a blanket," she said. The jammer van edged forward along the alley. Heat shimmered on its hood. Its coil spun up like a bad idea getting brave. The neon sign outside the diner flickered, then steadied. The van stopped. It did not like grease on the slope. It backed up. Its coil dropped to a sulk. Scarlip's voice drifted on an open channel. "Rook, do you read?" "Town is noisy," a new voice replied. "Smooth, clean. Rook. Noise is just music if you count right," he said. "Count for me." Scarlip's answer cut into static on purpose. They were close. They did not want to help Hale hear them. The bell rang again. A mother with a stroller came in, face pale, smile brave. "Is it safe?" she whispered. "It is safer with pie," Mara said. She slid a plate across. "Sit by the kitchen. That corner breathes warm." Sierra leaned close to the baby and listened without touching. "Fan's good," she said. "No net above." "You are clear." Hale stood and set his hat on his head. "I'll make a circle," he said. "Call if." He stepped into the bright day that did not feel bright. He walked past the mowers and the men who pretended to argue about oil and belt tension. He nodded to a woman who tuned wind chimes with a spoon like a musician. He looked at the tower and saw a shape shift behind it that was not wind. Sierra froze. Her pencil stilled. "The drone is back," she whispered. "No, two," and the van turned its coil to high. The lights blinked. The jukebox hiccuped. The neon gasped. "Hold it," Mara said. Sierra opened her mouth and let out one pure note. It slid into the fridge motor, into the fan's cheap bearings, into the duct, and up the wall. The diner answered her. The room hummed true. The jammer pushed back. The note shook. Sierra went pale. "Breathe," Mara said, eyes on the kitchen timer like it could count courage. In, out. The bell rang one more time. The two men returned with a third between them. He wore no cap, no badge, no color. His eyes were the kind that make rooms colder by a degree. He did not sit. He did not order. He looked at the pie, then at Sierra, then at the ceiling, then at the vent, then at the clock. He smiled like a knife laid flat. "Good morning," he said. "I'm Rook." Jessie's hand found the underside of the counter where the wrench lived. He did not touch it yet. He just knew where it was. Rook raised 2 fingers. Outside, engines idled with new patience. Inside, the diner's hum wavered like a line in hot air. "Lovely choir," Rook said softly. "Let's see if it sings without a conductor." The jammer coil spiked. The jukebox died. The neon died. The AC sighed and went still. The whole block went quiet like a held breath. Sierra whispered, "He ate the beat." Rook smiled with his eyes now. "House to house it is," he said. He nodded to his men. "Start with the barn." Hale's voice crackled on the county channel from outside, flat and hard. "Negative." "Street is closed." Rook's smile thinned. He tapped his cuff. Somewhere out of sight, a floodlight woke with a white scream. The diner windows turned to ice white. Boots pounded toward the alley. The jammer van rolled to the tower base with its coil screaming. Sierra's breath hitched. Then she set her palms on the counter and said, steady and small, "I can make one more song." White floodlight turned the diner windows into flat ice. Every scratch showed. Every breath felt loud. Rook stood still and calm, a knife with a smile. "Barn first," he said. Sheriff Hale's voice came from the doorway like a door that would not open. "Street is closed." Boots hit gravel in the alley. The jammer van idled under the radio tower. Its coil spun high, hungry. Sierra put both palms on the counter. "I can make one more song," she said, steady and small, "but not with wires. He eats wires. I need water." Mara did not ask why. She was a cook. She knew pipes run where wires fail. "Sink," she said. She twisted both taps wide. The old pipes shook. The faucet hissed a hard silver line. Sierra leaned close and hummed into the stream. The sound slid into the pipes and ran the whole building. It went up the risers, into vents, along gutters, out the roof. It found the water tower and touched its big round belly like a drum. Behind the feed store, in the dark barn, Vardas lifted his head. He felt the note in his bones. It called not his name, but his work. "I will be a roof," he said to the empty tractor. He stood, slow and burning. He pushed the barn doors with his shoulder and stepped into the white wash of floodlight. Red dots climbed his plates like ants. He did not look at them. He looked at the tower. The jammer van slid farther under the steel legs. The coil whined. The jukebox stayed dead. The neon stayed cold. But the pipes hummed Sierra's river note, and the town heard with its skin. Hale stepped from the doorway and took one pace into the white. He did not draw his gun. "You do not pass," he told Rook's two clean men. Rook's smile did not change. "Papers?" he asked. Later, Hale said. He did not blink. Mara lifted the pie case door. Jesse stood near the wrench and pretended to be only a boy. Sierra kept her mouth to the faucet and sent the note higher, wider, into gutters and tanks and the tower collar. Vardas reached the ladder. He hooked claws and began to climb. Plate scraped steel. The sound made teeth ache. He climbed anyway. He did not shake. He did not look down. He put his back against the tank and spread his wings until the round belly sat under a roof of scale. "Roof," he said, like a prayer he owed. 2 drones dropped into the light and came for the diner glass with nets ready. Hale kicked a chair across the beam. One drone hit wood and spun. The other spat its net at the counter. "Now!" Mara shouted. Jesse yanked the pie case door wide. The net wrapped glass and dragged the heavy box onto the drone's face. Sugar and metal met. The drone died confused in cherries. Rook tapped his cuff once. The floodlight backed off a breath, as if to see better. He spoke like a teacher who is tired of class. "Aim high," he told his men. "Tank collar." From the van, a long case came out and unfolded. A rail launcher, matte black. Tripod legs bit the street. The short barrel took a slug the size of a fist. It hummed a small, mean hum. Sierra's fingers slipped on wet steel. "Rail sees our noise and does not care," she choked. "I can bend it 1 heartbeat only." Mara looked at the tower. She saw Vardas pressed to the tank like a lid. She saw the town under it. She saw the space between enough and too late. "1 is enough," she said. "Save the tank." Rook set his cheek to the scope. "Mark," he said, soft as a razor. Sierra closed her eyes. She counted in her chest. 1, 2, now. Her voice slid through the pipe and kissed the sight with one lie. Farther by a thumb. The rail cracked. The slug flew. Heat shimmered off the grease barrel Mara had bumped earlier. The shot shaved Vardes's plate and grazed the collar instead of punching it. Sparks rained. Water thundered inside. The tank held. Vardes did not roar. He pressed harder. "Roof!" he gritted. Rook did not swear. He adjusted. "Second round," he said. His men raised rifles to bracket the tank. The jammer coil climbed to a shriek that made the chest feel hollow. Hale stepped deeper into the white. "Don't," he said to the street, to the gun, to the day. Sierra's lips were white now. "I cannot bend again without dropping names," she said. "If I sing, I lose words. Maybe yours. Maybe mine." Mara looked at her. "Keep your name," she said. "We will move the air." "How?" Jessie asked, voice small. "Heat makes wind," Mara said. She kicked the dented grease tin. A thin skin of oil ran across the alley concrete. She sparked the old pilot with a match and fanned low with a menu board. A shy flame crawled. Shimmer rose. Sight shook. "Hold," Hale said. Rook fired again. The slug kissed the collar and tore a long curve of steel without breaking through. A thin spray arced over Vardes's neck, turned to steam on hot plate. He closed his eyes and kept his weight. "Grapnel," Rook said, and flipped a cap on the launcher. A wire hook slid into place. He meant to yank the roof off the tank. The van backed a hair for angle. Its coil stuttered, then found mean again. The floodlight shifted to catch a better picture. Scarlip breathed, "Got him," and smiled too early. Sierra heard something new over the coil, the sky itself clearing its throat. The air went thin. Her silver eyes went far and cold. "The hunter looks down," she whispered. "Not the ship. The little eye. It asks for permission." Rook's cuff buzzed once. He smiled like a man at a door that just unlocked. "Granted," he said to nobody. He raised his hand, gentle, like releasing doves. "Hook him!" The grapnel screamed and bit Vardes's shoulder plate. The winch whirred and pulled. Vardes dug claws into asphalt. The street groaned. His torn wing shuddered like an old flag in too much wind. "Do not lift," Mara called, voice tight. "I will not," he said, and held. Above the tower, a cold triangle of light slid out of blue and did not blink. It drew a line not to the tank, not to the street, but to the vent above Sierra's head. Sierra swallowed. "It chooses me," she said. "I can stall one breath." "Spend it," Hale said. He put his body between Rook and the rail and shoved the stand with both hands. Metal skidded. The launcher tipped. Jessie mashed the pickup forward 2 feet and parked on the tripod leg. Rook's men raised rifles. Hale did not draw. "Try me," he said, calm as rain. The first spear dropped from the hunter, white, thin, perfect. Sierra lifted her hands from the faucet and sang a crooked lullaby into empty air. It said, "Work is done, eyes are tired, nothing to see." The spear twitched a hair. Vardes saw the fall in the corner of one gold eye. He had promised not to lift. He lifted anyway. Only the broken wing, just enough to make a roof where no roof was. The spear hit wing, not girl. Light crawled through scale and turned to steam. The grapnel line snapped with a gunshot pop and whipped away, cutting a clean line in Rook's sleeve. He did not flinch. His jaw did. Water sheeted. Steam rose. The alley became a fog that numbers hated. Sirens grew louder. Real county lights turned the fog blue. Deputies shouted. The jammer coil hiccuped. The floodlight died with a sad hiss like a bad opera ending. Rook checked his cuff. A symbol crawled across it. Bounty. Frozen. He smiled without joy. "Step back," he told his men. They did, confused and angry. The hunter did not leave. It narrowed its light and drew a new, thinner line through steam. It aimed past the diner, past the tower, out along the road, toward a small blue house with a white door and spoon chimes. Mara saw the angle. Her mouth went dry. "My roof," she said. Sierra's voice was a thread. "It points at your house." Hale's radio cracked. "Unit 3 at South Lane," a deputy said. "Cold light on a residence." Hale looked at Mara. Mara looked back. No one said run. They did not have to. "Jesse." "Keys," she said. He grabbed them. He was ready. He always tried to be. Sierra wiped water from her face. "I can make a storm lie," she said, "but the storm must come close." Lightning grumbled far east, as if the sky had heard the line and agreed to a visit. Vardis lowered the wounded wing over the tank again. He shook once and stopped himself. "Go," he said. "I will hold." Mara touched the hot scale with her fingers and did not wince. "Hold," she said. They ran for the truck. The hunters. Thin light slid along the road like a knife deciding where to cut. The first fat drop hit Mara's porch miles away. The jammer van crawled after them, coils stirring, and above it all, the cold triangle tilted, patient, precise, choosing the next roof to test. They hit the corner fast. Mara's blue house sat small under a wide, bruised sky. Spoon chimes rang in the wrong key. The first fat drops hit the porch and made dark flowers on the wood. "The light point's here," Sierra said. "It likes your vent. It loves corners." "Then we give it corners it can't count," Mara said. Jesse jumped from the truck. He ran the hose to the roof and blasted shingles until water slid like glass. Mara tore open a drawer, grabbed a ball of foil and a bag of pie tins, clipped them to the clothesline, the fence wire, the gutter nails. Tin flashed, clicked, lied to the sky. Sierra put both hands on the breaker box and hummed. The old air unit coughed alive, slow fan pulling warm kitchen breath up through the stove hood. A soft draft rose. The house exhaled. "The storm comes," Sierra said. Lightning stitched far fields. Thunder asked a question and forgot the ending. Sheriff Hale slid his cruiser into the yard. He stepped out with a bolt cutter and a coil of heavy wire. His hat dripped. His eyes didn't. "We hang aground," he said. "Not fancy. Good enough." They planted 2 posts, ran the wire high and slack, and hung more tins. The yard looked like a poor festival, bright and nervous. Sierra listened up. "The cold eye smiles," she whispered. "It sees a small city," she pointed. "It likes the kitchen vent." "Good," Mara said, "because sometimes it is. We make the vent sing hello and the rest sing goodbye." The jammer van crawled onto the street, coil whining. It sniffed for one strong voice. Sierra frowned. "It wants a clean hello." Mara grabbed the mailbox and popped it off the post. Jesse found a coin-sized tracker under the lip. "Cold and sticky. Cheap heart. Tick-tick." He made a face. "That's how they found us." Mara slapped the tracker inside the mailbox and pressed the box to the hood vent. Metal hummed the vent's note. The tracker borrowed the voice and shouted up, "Sweet and wrong." The cold triangle over the clouds leaned. Its thin line slid from roof edge to vent. "It chose. Ready," Hale said. He stood by the clothesline with the bolt cutter. "Not yet," Sierra said softly. "Let it fall in the lie." The spear dropped. It was clear, like frozen rain until it wasn't. It fell for the vent with no sound at all. "Now," Hale said. Mara cut the line. Half the tins took wind and made a silver curtain. Water hit foil and ran. Air bent. Numbers slipped. The spear blinked, corrected, and kissed the pump house by the garden instead of the vent. The little roof exploded into wet sticks. A water line cracked and turned the yard into a quick river. Sierra breathed out. "Good lie," she said, shaky. Her mouth went pale again. "One more will come." Jesse jumped in the truck bed and set the mailbox there. "Walk or run?" he asked. "Walk first," Mara said. "Then run!" The pickup idled at a crawl down the back alley, mailbox rattling like a drum. The cold eye followed the slow bump, bump, bump. It liked the story of a thing that pretends to be a person. Thunder moved closer. Rain thickened. The dropship slid down from cloud like a cold nail. No roar, only pressure. It stopped above the street 20 feet up. Its mouth split open like a thin, bright door. Hale didn't swear. "Cage," he said. "It collects." From the alley came a thin cry, wrong and small. Mrs. Dunn stood 2 yards over, robe soaked, one hand on a porch post, the other on her oxygen mask. The storm had killed her power. Her tank blinked low. Her grandson waved from behind her in a panic, maybe 6 years old. "She can't breathe right," he yelled. Mara's chest twisted. Her eyes went to Syrah, then the ship, then the boy. "Get them inside," she told Hale. "My generator lives under the cellar stairs." Hale ran. He moved the way doors move when you push a little harder than polite. He scooped the tank and the mask and the woman's arm, and his voice said, "You're okay," until it was true. Syrah flinched. "The mouth looks at me," she whispered. "It will drop a cage for the porch." She touched her throat. "I can make the cage think the cellar is me. Once." "Do it," Mara said. "Jesse, bar the door after it bites." Syrah sang a thin, crooked line into the stepwood. Heat from the little generator under the stairs agreed and sent up a warm lie. The dropship lowered a bright, perfect cage toward the porch and dove it into the cellar mouth instead. The cage snapped on empty stairs. Its light screamed a high, ugly song, wanted to open, found heat, hugged it. Mara slammed the cellar door and dropped the iron bar. Jesse threw the shovel across the top. Hale arrived, breath fogging, and planted his boots on the bar. The door held. The yard's foil and wire drank the cage light into the ground like rain. The jammer van saw 16 hellos at once and loved them all. It froze, dumb and happy. Rook turned the corner and stopped with respectful space behind the ship, a clerk before a judge. He held up a small flasher beacon in his palm. It blinked a clean ID the ship liked. "Collect," Rook said to the cold mouth, as if giving a polite order. "Target, the girl." Mara stepped in front of Syrah. She raised a wrench that had fixed fryers and now fixed borders. "No." Syrah grabbed the rattling mailbox from the truck bed and pressed it to the vent again. The tracker hummed big, the mouth tilted to the vent. It started to unroll a second cage. From far across rain and street and fear, a voice rolled like thunder over metal. "Home!" Vardis moved. He did not fly. He walked, slow and ruin-strong, down from the water tower, one step, then one, then one. The spear in his wing hummed. His claws dug. He arrived at the porch like a storm you voted for. The second cage fell. Mara pulled Syrah into it, not to be caught. To be under a roof. Vardis dropped his torn wing over the porch like a lid. The cage hit wing, not girl. Light ran through scale and turned to steam. The spear in his wing sang and then gave up. The yard became a fog the dropship did not love. "Third," Rook said, calm. He lifted his beacon higher. Hale walked up to him like a man going to kill a rumor. He closed his hand over the beacon and turned it off. "No," he said. Rook looked into Hale's face and saw no place to live. He lifted both hands. "You won a street," he said. "Good street," Hale said. Above them, the cold eye blinked. One small symbol rolled across Rook's cuff. Bounty. Frozen. The dropship hesitated like a machine remembering it has rules. Its mouth began to close. Syrah leaned out from under the wing, rain in her hair. She sang a lullaby bent wrong, the kind that makes numbers yawn. The mouth stopped closing. It did not open either. It just waited, confused, like a metronome someone nudged. Mrs. Dunn coughed once, then twice, then eased as the generator's warm buzz under the stairs steadied her oxygen. The boy cried from relief and didn't know why. Mara put her forehead to Vardis's plate. "Thank you," she whispered. He answered like a mountain. "Roof." Sirens grew teeth on the far road. Real county cars turned into the street with blue rain around their wheels. Deputies spilled out, saw too much, and kept their hands low in the right way. Rook's men looked at Rook and at Hale and at the wing and at the mouth and chose to be alive tomorrow. Rifles dropped into mud. The drop ship made a sound like a door closing in an empty house and lifted. It slid into cloud. The rain filled the hole it left like a tongue hiding a missing tooth. For a beat, Only the spoon chimes spoke. Then Sira's head tilted. Her silver eyes went far again. "Another cold light," she said. "Smaller, sharper, not for houses. For roads." Jessie followed her gaze. The thin line did not point at a roof now. It ran along the highway, clean and straight, to the old mine road past the ridge. Hale's radio popped through wet static. "Collapse. 16 trapped. Air thin?" Mara looked at the map pinned by rain inside her skull. She looked at Vardess's wing, at Sira's small hands, at Jessie's wet grin that wouldn't quit. She looked at the road. "A home is a promise," she said. "Ours reaches that far." The cold light settled on the mine road like a finger choosing a vein. The jammer van backed away to make a new call. Vardess straightened with a groan and still covered the porch. And Sira drew a line in the air with one wet finger and said, "We go through a lying storm, or we do not go at all." Rain ran off the diner sign. The town breathed again. The call from the mine cut the quiet. 16 trapped, air thin. No pirates in the words. Only clock. Mara turned the key. The pickup answered with a working heart. Sira climbed in front, wet scarf tight. Jessie threw coils of rope and a first aid kit in the bed. Vardess lowered himself behind the truck like a moving wall. Sheriff Hale leaned to the window. "I'll keep Rook tied up," he said. "I'll send a deputy to the Ridge Road." Mara nodded once. "Hold the town," she said. "We hold the rest." They rolled. The storm walked with them, long legs, wrong light. Out on the highway, the cold line hung above the road like a ruler with bad plans. Sira pressed her palm to the dash. "The storm lies," she said. "It makes ghost lanes, bright but false. The true lane is the thin, dark seam with no echo." "Point and talk," Mara said. Sira closed her eyes. "Left 2. Right 3. Now straight. Slow on hollow, fast on song." They hit the ridge cut. Wind pushed the truck. The wipers fought and lost. The line above slid, patient. Jessie watched the mirrors. "Van," he said. "Back there." The jammer van crawled 2 curves behind, lights off, coil low, like a shark under rain. "Let him watch," Mara said. "He will learn nothing useful." The storm drew a bright road across a dry wash, smooth as a promise, wrong as a trick. Sira shook her head. "Not that," she said. "The real lane hides in the grain of the wind." Mara aimed for empty. The tires bumped ugly rock and then found good grip. The bright false road ended in air. The truck would have flown if they had listened to Pretty. Vardess followed with a sound like an old barn choosing to live. His broken wing dragged a white line through puddles. He did not ask for rest. "Roof follows," he said. The radio spat coughs and numbers. A rough voice from the mine. "We have 3 cylinders left." 1 hour, maybe. A child cried far inside stone. A man sang a short church line to make the air kind, then stopped because crying needed the small space. Sira flinched. "I hear their fans dying," she said. "I can push them a little from here." "Not much. Save the little," Mara said. "We will need it later." They came to the old bridge over Powder Creek. One beam was bent. The storm plastered light across it to make it look whole. Sira touched the window. "Center only," she said. "Slow, no brakes." "The bridge hates fear." Mara went steady. Jessie held his breath. Vardess stepped into the creek instead, water to his chest, and came up on the other side with a cough like a train. Ahead, the cut narrowed to rock walls. County Road 12 became a throat. Jessie pointed. "What is that on the sign?" Mara squinted. The metal showed a round black spot no rain could move. Sira inhaled like a struck string. "A mine," she said. "Small, clever, hungry. It is not on the sign." Jessie looked under his seat and felt fear in his hands before his head knew why. "Under us," he said, voice thin. Mara eased to the shoulder. She did not brake hard. She let the truck fall quiet like a deer. They slid out into rain. The road was a black ribbon and a rumor. Vardess lowered his head and looked under the truck with one gold eye. A round blue glow hugged the rear axle like a bad tick. Sira knelt, palm near the wet road. "It sings wrong," she whispered. "If we pull fast, it kisses us. If we wait, it calls friends." "Choices," Mara said. "What kind of latch?" "Spring with a listening ear," Sira said. "It likes smooth." Vardis slid a claw under the axle, slow as a tide. He breathed cold across the metal. Steam rose. The blue glow softened, then flared like a child saying no. Sierra hummed a small round tone, no edges. The ear liked it. The spring relaxed. "Now," she said. Vardis twisted and flicked the mine into the ditch. It stuck to rock, blinked confused, and blew into a white flower. The blast turned to steam and rain. The shock rolled over their boots and left an ache in the shins. Jesse laughed once, wild and scared. "Good throw." Vardis watched the smoke. "Small teeth," he said. "Big mouth behind." Mara checked the mirror. The jammer van sat back in the curve, coil ready, not brave enough to come close. Rook liked to let others do the biting. They pushed on. The storm seemed tightened. Lightning flashed in sheets, not forks. Wind shoved left, then right, then quieted when Sierra hummed the pitch it liked. "This way," she said. The dark seam between bright lies. They reached the mine road. Trucks stood empty at odd angles. A lunchbox lay on its side in mud. The gate hung open, chain broken by hands with no time. The adit mouth breathed wet cold. A generator stuttered by the wall like a smoker trying to be brave. A foreman with a gray beard and fear in his eyes stumbled to them. "Cave-in at the old support ring," he said. "Kids down there on a field trip. Teacher, 2 minors, 11 students, 2 staff. We hear tapping. It slows." Mara put a hand on his arm. "We will help," she said. She looked at Vardis. "Roof?" "Roof," he said, and folded low to make a long cover from the rain to the mine door. People ran under his wing and did not scream. Some put a hand to scale like you touch a church door. Sierra knelt by the dying generator. She pressed her ear to its hot skin. "It wants to work," she said. "It forgot why." Jesse yanked the starter cord. The engine coughed like an old man laughing for the first time in days, then settled with a steady shake. Lights in the first stretch of tunnel flickered awake. Mara tied a bandana over her mouth. She checked the air monitor. Numbers were bad. Not death yet. Close. She looked at the rope. She looked at Vardis's eye. "If the roof groans, you pull this line," she said. "No waiting." "Understood," he said. They went in. The tunnel narrowed to a rib cage of old wood. Water tapped. Mud sucked boots like a mean friend. Far in, a small voice sang a school song with wrong words. The teacher whispered counts between coughs. "Tap if you hear me," Mara called. "Tap, tap, tap." The sound came weak, but true. Sierra touched the wall. "Supports are tired," she said. "They want to fall nice. We need them to fall later." "How later?" Mara asked. "One song," Sierra said. "The kind that keeps kids from crying." "Sing it," Mara said. Sierra hummed a round, low tone that Wood likes. The ribs shivered and changed their minds for a minute. The ceiling held breath. Mara and Jesse dug with hands and a short pry bar. A small shoe appeared. "A small leg," Jesse whispered. "Hey!" like a boy talking to a rabbit. The child coughed mud and cried once, then worked like a miner, tiny but smart. They pulled 2 kids, then 3. The teacher used up her nice words and kept going on empty. A miner held a beam with his back and smiled at a joke nobody told. Outside, the jammer van crept to the gate. It could not see love. It could see heat. Rook sat dry inside it, suit drying at the cuffs, eyes on the adit like a man watching a lock pick itself. He touched his cuff and saw a small, cold symbol. Priority, unresolved. He lifted a radio. "Move slow," he told nobody visible. "We collect after they save." "We want a quiet road." Back in the tunnel, Sierra's song shook. Her voice frayed. "One more," she said. "Then I must stop." The foreman crawled in beside Mara. They levered a board. The board complained. Sierra ran a hand along it and told it a kind lie. It believed her. It waited. They got the last child out. The teacher crawled, dragging a miner with a bad leg. Crack! The ceiling changed its mind. "Out!" Mara shouted. Sierra grabbed the miner's belt. Jesse pulled the teacher. Mud took Jesse's boot, and he left it without a fight. They reached the mouth as the old ribs finally decided to be done with this year. Wood fell like tired men. Dust and rain met in the door and turned to a sad paste. Everyone coughed in the gray light and counted. Heads. 16. The foreman cried into his dirty hands. Like a child who found his mother, Vardis gathered his wing and put it over the line of kids while the first wall of rain hit with new anger. The children fell silent, not from fear now, but because a dragon was a roof, and roofs are good to be under. Sirens wailed again, Hale's deputy skidding in with oxygen and blankets. The deputy looked at the wing, blinked twice, and said nothing wrong. Mara turned to the gate to thank the road and saw a black silhouette at the bend. A dropship hovered beyond trees, no lights, only pressure. The jammer van idled by the pumps with a happy coil. Rook stepped out and fixed his cuffs like a polite guest. "Lovely work," he said. "Now hand me the music." Sierra's throat closed. Her hands were empty. Her eyes were bright and small. Vardis shifted his wing. His shoulder plate bled a thin line where the spear had been. His voice rolled low. "No." Rook tilted his head. "You won a town," he said softly. "Not the road." Hale's deputy reached for his radio. The radio spat noise and died. The cold triangle above peered through broken cloud and drew a thin line past the mine, past the road, toward the school in town. Sierra saw it and went cold all over. "It wants more than me," she whispered. "It wants a door." Mara picked up her wrench. She stood in rain and mud and breath steam and said one line that made the kids stop crying and listen. "A home is a promise. You do not get to choose its size." The dropship lowered a third cage toward the wet earth. The jammer coil hit high. The thin light slid toward the school map line. Vardis braced to move with a wing that should not. And Sierra looked at the storm and said, "I can make it lie one last time, but I will forget the sky." Rain hammered the mine yard. The dropship hung like a black nail. A third cage unrolled from its mouth, bright and patient. The jammer van's coil climbed to a cruel hum. Far above, the cold triangle drew a thin line across the map toward the school back in town. Sierra pressed a fist to her throat. "It wants a door," she said. "If it tags the school, it will come back later with more mouths." Mara looked at the line of wet children. She looked at the old generator, at the rails, at the coal carts, at the puddles shining like black glass. She breathed once. "Then we build a fake door," she said. Rook stepped closer, cuffs tidy even in rain. "You are out of tricks," he said, almost gentle. "Give me the girl and the dragon sleeps." Vardis lowered his head and showed a line of old, tired teeth. "I sleep when I choose," he said. Sheriff Hale's deputy waved blankets and O2 toward the kids. The radio on his shoulder spat a dead hiss. He looked at Mara and did not need words. She nodded. He moved the kids under Vardis's wing. The dragon made roof. Sierra put her hands on the steel rails by the loading spur. She closed her eyes and listened. "Rails sing clean," she whispered. "If I push song into them, the yard becomes a city. Hot lines, moving hearts." "How long?" Mara asked. 1 minute, Sierra said. "Maybe less. My head will go empty for a while." "What will you forget?" Jessie asked, voice small. Sierra swallowed. "The sky," she said. The word shook. "Only for a little. I hope." Mara touched Sierra's scarf. "Keep your name. Lose the sky. We will hold it for you." Jessie tugged on Mara's sleeve. "Lights," he said. "We need windows for the fake city." Mara saw it. "Headlights in a line," she said. "High beams on rails, not people." She pointed at the foreman. "Trucks, park them nose to nose along the siding. Leave engines warm." Men ran, mud to their shins, hands sure. Engines turned. High beams glared white on wet steel. The rails turned to bright rivers. "Carts," Mara said next. "We pile foil blankets and heat packs in them. We pull them slow so the city walks." Jessie and 2 miners threw mylar, old sandwich foil, and hot packs into carts. They tied rope to the first cart and looped it around Vardis's foreclaw. "Soft pull," Mara told the dragon. "Like eggs. Make the city patient." Vardis nodded. He leaned into the rope. The first cart rolled. Foil flickered. Heat packs glowed dull red in rain. Sierra let go of her scarf and put both palms flat on the rails. She sang low and round. The rails took the note and carried it everywhere. The yard hummed. Puddles trembled. Headlights smeared long. The fake city woke up. Streets of light, a pulse of heat, small moving hearts of foil and old iron. The dropship's mouth tilted. The cage stopped over the mine door and drifted toward the walking lines. Rook's smile thinned. "Cute," he said. He touched his cuff. The jammer coil spiked. The rails shook with ugly static. Sierra's shoulders dipped. "Hold," Mara said. Hale's deputy kicked the jammer van's tire on purpose. The coil hiccuped. The static dropped a breath. Sierra climbed back on her note. The cage followed the rails, hungry for city, not mine. It fell into the first cart, hugged foil, and sang that high, wrong song again. "Shut it," Mara said. Jessie shoved a coal lid over the cart and jammed a crowbar through the handles. The cage fought. The lid held. Sparks ran the bar and leaped to wet ground. The ground wire Hale had run at the house had taught him something. He found 2 long rebar stakes by the shed, slammed them into mud, and clamped the crowbar to them with the bolt cutter jaws. The cage light ran down into earth like bad news into a drain. Rook's eyes cooled. He nodded once, as if someone else had moved a chess piece he liked. "Again," he told the ship, and lifted the beacon. The mouth began to unroll a 4th cage. Sierra's song wavered. Her face went slack and then strict. "Now the school," she whispered. "It asks again." Mara looked at the line pointing away. She shook her head hard, as if to fling fear out of her hair. "Jessie," she said. "The mailbox," he blinked rain. "From the truck?" "Yes," Mara said. "We make the tracker think the rails are home." Jessie sprinted to the pickup. He ripped the mailbox free and slapped it down on the rail with 2 bungee cords. The tracker inside sang hello in the voice of steel and storm. The cold eye above tipped. Its thin line slid from the school line back to the fake city. It liked here better now, Sierra exhaled. "Good," she whispered. Her eyes went empty for a second, then found Mara again. "Who are you?" she asked, soft, scared. "I'm the cook," Mara said, a smile under a bruise. "I keep roofs warm." Sierra smiled back and cried once in the rain without time for tears. The 4th cage fell. Vardis dragged the 2nd cart under it on purpose, took the bite on iron and foil, not flesh. Hale and the foreman threw another lid, another clamp, more ground. Light screamed, then went quiet and sulked. Rook lowered the beacon and looked at Hale. "You can't do this all night," he said. "We can do it long enough," Hale said. Rook glanced toward town, then at the cold eye. He lifted his cuff. A new symbol crawled across it. Escalate. He did not hide the word. He wanted Mara to see it. "Permission granted," he said. "What does that mean?" Jessie asked. Sierra's breath hitched. "Bigger mouth," she said. "No cages. A net." Thunder walked up the ridge like boots on old stairs. The storm changed pitch. Wind shoved everything a step, then settled into a wrong calm. Mara checked the kids under Vardes's wing. "Count again," she told the teacher. Out loud. 6, 8, 12, 16, the teacher coughed. Her hand held a small hand harder than needed. The small hand did not mind. The dropship's belly opened wider. A slick sheet unfurled, thin as rain, wide as the yard. It fell slow and sure. It would wrap rails and carts and people and questions and not care what was inside until later. "Cut it," Hale said, already running with the bolt cutter. "Knife won't matter," Sierra said. "It has teeth that eat knives." "Then we feed it something it loves more," Mara said. Her eyes went to the generator sputtering by the door, to the transformer box near the floodlight pole, to the thick mud that loved current. "We give it a bigger song," Hale understood on the first word. He yanked the generator closer. Mara kicked the transformer panel open with her heel. Sparks bit her wrist. She didn't blink. Hale jammed the bolt cutter handles between panel and frame to wedge it open. The foreman threw the ground stakes deeper. Jessie dragged bare jumper cables through the mud with both hands like a small, brave river. Sierra set her palms on the generator and sang a crooked chord. Not pretty, big. The generator coughed and roared. The transformer spat a blue arc that leaped to the mud, then up in thin fingers toward the falling net. The net liked that. It tilted toward the bright road in the dirt. Reached for the fat note, forgot people, forgot names. "Now," Mara said. Jessie clamped the cable end to the rebar with a wet glove and a bad joke. "Please don't bite." It didn't. The net touched the arc. Light ran through it like water through a screen door. It shivered, wrinkled, then collapsed into itself like a bad idea deciding to go home. The last sparks leaped into ground and died as little honest snakes. Rook's face did not change. His cuff buzzed again. Bounty. Frozen blinked once more, then went locked. He looked up, past the drop ship, past the storm, as if counting invisible steps on a ladder you cannot see. The cold triangle above blinked. The thin line pulled back from the school line and wrote itself into the clouds. Sierra swayed. "It thinks," she said. "It waits." Vardes eased the rope, breath like bellows with old holes. He looked at Sierra. "Name?" he asked. She touched her chest. She found herself again. "Sierra," she said, small and proud. The kids under the wing clapped once because some moments deserve sound. Rook rolled his shoulders, as if the suit were tight, as if the night pressed. He looked at Mara. "You will not outrun a ledger," he said. "This page will be balanced." Mara held his eyes. "Not by you," she said. He nodded, not agreeing, just noting. He lifted a finger at the dropship and made a small circle. The mouth closed. The ship rose, not fast, into cloud. The jammer coil wound down in a grudge. The van's lights turned off as if ashamed. The rails sang a last note and went quiet. Rain eased. The mine yard looked like a kitchen after a rush, messy, fed, alive. The teacher hugged 3 children and then another 3. The foreman sat in mud and laughed like a man who just lifted a stove off his foot. Hale wiped rain off his brim and looked 10 years older and 10 years better. Vardes sagged. Mara put both hands on his plate and held some of his weight with a woman's strength that does not go on paper. "Lay down," she said. He folded. He was big. The yard made room. Sierra knelt and pressed her forehead to scale. "You kept the roof," she whispered. He closed one eye. "You kept the road," he said. Jesse leaned on the mailbox, grinning tired. "We all kept a piece," he said. The radio on the foreman's belt crackled. Hale's station came back to life through wet static. "Town power stable," a voice said. "School safe. Roads open west. East is a mess," Mara breathed. She opened her mouth to say we go home, and every phone in the yard buzzed at once. Not ring. Buzz. A text without a number. Sierra's silver eyes went wide and far. "Cold message," she whispered. "To everyone." Jesse looked down at his cracked screen. One line glowed white under rain, Hunter active. Jurisdiction changed. Collection at dawn. Hale read it. His jaw made a new line. Sierra lifted her face to the clouds she had promised to forget. She remembered them anyway. "Dawn," she said. Vardes turned his head toward the east where night is thin. "Then we stand before the sun," he said. The storm limped away. The mine yard steamed. The dropship's echo faded. And over the ridge, a new clean light woke in the clouds, flat and wide as a road sign, drawing a line not to a tank or a house, but straight across the county sky as if it had just claimed the morning. Night thinned over the ridge. The storm limped away. Steam rose from the mine yard. Everyone's phone still showed the same line. Hunter active. Jurisdiction changed. Collection at dawn. Mara read it once. She did not read it again. She looked east. The clouds there held a clean, flat glow like a sign with no words yet. "We go home," she said, "and make morning choose us." They rolled back toward town. Vardes followed, slow and ruin-strong. Sierra sat upright in the cab, hands in her lap, eyes on every wire and pole. Jesse tied the toolbox twice, even though once was enough. Sheriff Hale drove ahead with lights off and purpose on. The 2-lane opened on fields. Sprinklers clicked. A center pivot arm stood quiet like a sleeping clock hand. "Good," Mara said. "We borrow the field." Hale keyed his radio. "Wake the pumps," he told a farmer who would answer for this town even without coffee. "Not a flood, a mist." The man answered with a tired okay. Sierra pressed her palm to the dash. "Dawn is a machine too," she said, voice small. "It has a table and a rule. The hunter reads a straight line where sky becomes ground." "Then we bend the line," Mara said. We make a false horizon that points at nothing and looks like everything. They reached the water tower. The Blue Star Diner windows glowed with a few stubborn bulbs. Neighbors were up. Lawnmowers waited like faithful dogs. Pie tins glittered wet on lines and fences. The town was tired and bright-eyed. Mara spoke fast and simple. We need mirrors, foil, water, and one big choir. I've got church mirrors in the thrift room, said Mrs. Lopez from the door of the old chapel. My pivot can throw mist to the east road, the farmer on the radio said. 40 seconds to pressure. Hale nodded once. I'll pull the permits after, he said to no one. It made some people laugh, which helped. Vardis lifted his head and looked at the tower. The spear holes in his wing steamed in the cool. I will be the roof one more time, he said. Sierra touched his plate. Not over us, she said. Over the line. They moved fast. They strapped mirrors to fence posts facing east. They draped foil sheets over a low rail by the road. The farmer's pivot began to whisper rain into air. Mist rose. The first pale gray of morning hit the droplets and made a wall of soft light where there had been none. Sierra stood in the middle of Main Street and lifted both hands. She did not sing yet. She listened. The jukebox hummed a sleeper's breath. The fridge clicked. Wind chimes set a key. The town cleared its throat. Rook walked out of a doorway like a bad idea on clean shoes. He had lost his van. He had not lost himself. His cuffs were tidy. His eyes were the kind that count doors. He carried a small beacon in his palm. Dawn, he said to Mara, belongs to my side today. Step away from the line. Hale took the beacon from Rook with 2 fingers and held it up like a bug under a jar. He did not crush it. He turned it off. County light, he said, is for people. Rook smiled thin. You're wrong, he said softly. Above them, the clean glow spread. It drew a thin white bar across the top of the clouds from east to west. It was not light. It was a rule. Ready, Mara said. 2 beats. She looked around the square. When I lift my hand, start. When I drop it, stop. She lifted. The lawn mowers roared to life. Not pretty, big. Window fans rattled. The neon fought up a pink edge. The pivot's mist became a screen. The mirrors caught the first pail and pushed it sideways into the foil rail, which bounced it back into the mist. A bright, fake horizon stood where the empty road began. Sierra breathed in once like a diver on a low rock. She sang. Not a lullaby, not a pipe hum. A dawn. Simple. Steady. 2 notes and a rest. She poured it through the pipes, wires, the wet foil, the tower, the pivot, the mowers, the church bell rope. The town answered. It did not sing well. It sang true. The clean bar above looked down. It measured the first edge of day. It found a straight line where the false horizon met the mist. It wrote a number there, then a green check in a language only Sierra could hear. The hunter chooses the wall, Sierra whispered. Not us. The wall. Good, Mara said through her teeth. Keep it hungry. The dropship came in silent from the east, lower than any bird, a black mouth in a white rule. It did not look at people. It looked at the line. Its side opened. A thin, bright sheet unrolled. Not a cage, not a net. Something between, wide enough to take a block. Hale raised his hand. On my word, he told nobody and everyone. He looked at Mara. Mara watched Sierra's face. Sierra nodded once, very small. Now, Mara said. Hale dropped his hand. The town cut the sound. Mowers off, fans off, neon out. The mist held the glow alone for 1 heartbeat, then drifted. The hunter's sheet fell into the fake horizon and wrapped it like silk around a ghost. It hugged light. Ground it, Mara said. The transformer at the diner spat blue. 2 rebar stakes hammered last night drank the arc. Jessie threw the jumper cable clamp onto the foil rail. The bright sheet touched the foil and found a road to earth. It locked itself to nothing. It hummed. It thought it had done work. It sent a small, proud report up the thin bar in the clouds. Collection complete. Sierra heard it. She almost fell from relief. Her name shook in her hands. It says done, she said. It tells a boss we are gone. Rook stepped forward, face tight, voice still smooth. Override. he said to the air, to the rule, to the morning. He lifted the beacon Hale had turned off and tried to make it live. Hale closed his hand over Rook's wrist and lowered it like a father setting a boy's arm on a table. No, he said. Up in the clean bar, symbols moved. Bounty, void, jurisdiction, released. The thin line paled like chalk in rain. The bar faded. The morning became morning again. The dropship hovered in a failure it did not understand. Its mouth shut. It lifted. It did not look left or right. It went away the way a number is erased. Silence landed with it, soft and heavy. Then sound returned in small, honest ways. The pivot hissed and complained. A dog shook. A spoon chime found the simple key. A child laughed because the sun was a joke you could keep. Vardess sagged against the tower. Mara ran to him. She put both hands on his hot plate and held until her own arms shook. Home, she said, because there was no other word left. Home, he answered, tired as a mountain that has done too much and is glad of it. Sierra stood in the road and looked up at the blue that was only blue now. She tested her mouth. Sky, she said, and smiled because she remembered it. Rook looked at the empty air where his morning had gone. He laughed once without joy like a man reading the word void on a long bill. Hale turned him, cuffed him, and did not look away from Mara while he spoke. Charges still stand, Hale said. You'll see a judge. Not a light? Rook did not fight. He stared at the town as if trying to memorize its edges for later. Ledger isn't closed, he said to Mara. It's paid, Mara said. Bring your books somewhere else. Hale's cars rolled. Rook went away small, a man in a hat car with no music. The town watched and did not clap. Some things you do quiet. The sun climbed a hand higher. Steam left roofs. The pivot stopped. Mirrors leaned at odd angles and made bright spots on dirt like dropped coins. Jesse propped the roof given here sign in the diner window at a better tilt. He added 2 words below in small block letters. Thank you. People came. They brought blankets, bad coffee, and wrong advice that sounded like love. The miners' kids ate toast and drew dragons that looked like trucks, and trucks that looked like dragons. The teacher kept her hand on a small shoulder because it felt like a promise. Sierra sat on the porch step. Her scarf dried in the light. She closed her eyes and listened. The town hummed like a living machine with no owner. Vardess slept behind the barn. His breath was slow. When he turned, the stitches held. Ugly, honest work. He dreamed of high wind and kitchen light and a woman who said home like a law. Mara wiped the counter. She looked at the road. She did not plan to leave just yet. She did not plan to stop ever. The radio clicked. Old bridge out west needs a check. Oxygen at the clinic is thin. A truck stuck on the hill. Not pirates, not hunters. Just a town and its small daily wars. Mara nodded to the air. We'll get there, she said. Hale tipped his hat and left 2 words on the counter like a tip. Holler if. Sierra opened her eyes and met Mara's. Jesse lifted the keys. Another day, Mara said. The engine answered with a working heart. The door chime rang. The road lay clean and honest under a sky that told the truth. They rolled. The sign in the window faced the street and the full morning roof given here. Back soon, far above, where cold rules write themselves and then forget. A tiny pulse blinked. Dull and late, appeal filed. Sierra could have heard it. She did not look up. She hummed the town's small song instead and counted 1, 2, home.